how are we connecting with other jurisdictions internationally in order to make sure that these offenders are punished?
I believe that we've got a strong and robust system, and we will do everything we can to make sure that that is the genuine belief in our justice system. When it comes to connecting with other jurisdictions, we are actively working with other jurisdictions.
Perfect. We have a recording going. Welcome to our multicultural media roundtable to discuss the Cybercrime Task Force with Minister Amery. My name is Heather. I'm his press secretary, and today there's a lot of people attending, so we're going to just jump right into questions. We'll do one question, and then we can do a follow-up if we have time afterwards. And just a reminder that this is recording, so you will be sent a recording of this afterwards. But I'll start then just opening the floor to any questions. If you have a question, if you could just raise your hand. I see Sam from Alberta in Arabic. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. I have quite a few questions, but I'm going to ask one, and then maybe if I have a chance to ask more. Minister, with many Albertans, specifically seniors and newcomers, don't report cybercrimes because they don't know how, or they're shy of doing that, or maybe feel embarrassed. What is your ministry doing to make reporting easier, and how are you raising awareness to the victims feel safe to come forward?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a very important one. In fact, I think that the problem even stems more so than what you articulated. Many newcomers, many seniors are embarrassed to report these types of crimes. And we know that's especially the case when it comes to the cyber crimes and online scams. A lot of senior citizens are victims to these types of crimes. And we know that people are typically embarrassed. But we also know that people are afraid. And I think that's probably the bigger component that I wanted to stress to all of you and to your viewers as well. We continue to work closely with a number of organizations. We know that Crime Stoppers has been working in Alberta for decades, and they have a very robust way of making sure that crimes are reported anonymously, and that rewards follow from those reports if they lead to an arrest or conviction. The other thing that we do is that we typically encourage people through various seminars, meetings, town halls, all across this province, and I've attended a number of them, where we are encouraging members of the community who have information to come forward, especially if they are worried about being identified. We have mechanisms in place, both at the local law enforcement levels, but also through the organizations I mentioned, like Crime Stoppers, and others that give the opportunity to report these crimes fully anonymously and allow the police to do their work to investigate and lay the charges. We've spent some time at various cultural community town halls as well. I would say to you that I've gone through to a number of them over even the past few months to make sure that members of the community can hear it directly from me. Our office remains very open and very accessible to people of the community who want to reach out. And in fact, that's actually worked quite well, because I regularly hold meetings both within my constituency and also outside my constituency with victims of these types of crimes. And in particular, the extortion type crimes that we're seeing in Northeast Calgary and also in Edmonton, to make sure that families understand that it's not only the organizations that are available, but also me and my office and my team who are willing to meet with families and get the information directly from them, as well as taking it back and having the appropriate law enforcement agencies further those investigations. So I hope that answers some of your question. I know that there's still some work to be done, of course, but these are the types of options that people here in Alberta, in particular, newcomers, seniors, people who struggle with the language or other issues, to reach out. And we will definitely accommodate in many different ways the types of those challenges. We'll make sure that if there's a language barrier, we'll reach out with somebody who speaks that language. If there is a barrier as to the process, our office will help navigate or help those families navigate these sort of the way that these reports are made. And we also continue to make sure that organizations like Crime Stoppers are well funded and well supported by the government of Alberta, so that they continue to offer their services in a multitude of different languages, and also are able to provide the rewards for those tips that lead to good I should say good tips that lead to charges or convictions.
Thanks, Minister.
Pleasure. Any follow-up?
I leave it to the other. I do have quite a few other questions, but I'll wait for one.
Well, we have a wonderful crowd, and I wanted to say that I didn't want to waste our time with a lot of opening remarks, but I do want to thank all of you for coming and engaging in this. This is a very important issue, and it's a live issue, and it's becoming worse. So part of the reason why we've established this task force is to make sure that we meet these challenges head on. We have the appropriate parties within the task force, and also we're making sure that we are proactively addressing this before it gets any worse than what it already is.
Okay.
Wonderful. Sam, I'll definitely come back to you for a second round, and we'll get to your question. I'm just going to go down the list that I have here. Giuseppe, sorry if I pronounce.
Don't worry, it's normal usually. Hey,
go ahead with your question.
Honorable, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk that the reality right now is cybersecurity, no? And it's important not only in the prevention, it's transnational, this problem. My question is regarding how much impact in money this situation in Alberta. And secondly, you're talking about the expanded Cyber Alberta program. What kind of programs and how specific is in the community?
Again, two great questions. They will expand, I think, on the first question. When you ask about how much of an impact financially this has, the number is enormous. We have a close relationship with the Canadian Banking Association. I, in fact, met with them about this particular issue as well, to talk a little bit about how banks can work together with government to help protect their clients. And we know that a very small number of cybercrimes are reported. And so the numbers that we have indicate that cybercrimes and digital fraud could be in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars per year. And that is a real problem. It is. It's absolutely massive and enormous. But the key thing to take away from this is that it is very underreported. And that is the real problem here. We know that families who are the victims of these types of online scams typically do not report it for various reasons, but we want to make sure that we give everybody the opportunity and the encouragement and support to come forward and report it. There is good news. The good news is that we've seen a number of we've seen a number of charges being laid recently. We've seen a number of arrests. We've identified dozens of suspects here in Alberta. And we've seen the deportation of people who have been convicted of these types of crimes. And this is all to the credit and to the effort of the law enforcement agencies that we have working along with the CBSA and Alert. Alert is our Alberta law enforcement response team. And it's made up of elite integrated law enforcement officers and teams that are designed specifically to combat organized crime here in Alberta. And this is the reality of how we're approaching this. We've got the best of the best working on this. We're working with the RCMP, we're working with CBSA, and we've combined all of our local policing agencies together, along with their digital and cyber crimes departments, to make sure that they have all the resources they need to combat this head on. We also know that these types of crimes are very sophisticated. We know that a lot of the actors are operating from outside of Canada, and that's partly why we have the work of the CBSA and the RCMP involved in this as well. So it's a multi-unit, multi-organizational approach that we are moving forward with, and it is the most comprehensive that I have ever seen. And so I think Albertans and Canadians, in fact, can take comfort in the idea that we are very much alive to this issue, and we are doing everything we can to capture these folks as quickly as possible and make sure that they suffer the consequences of what they're doing to law-abiding good Albertans.
Thank you.
Thanks, Minister. I got a message that Sunil needs to leave soon, so we can head to your question next.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Minister, for taking this call and working on the cybersecurity. My question is basically core cybersecurity skills to teach young adults. As we have noticed, and as a safety professional, we want to be proactive than a reactive. And the trend is the kids or youth are spending more time on computer and social gadgets. The government has a plan through school or through education program to teach them about the criminal codes, cyberbullying, so they can stay protective and they're not sharing what they should not be sharing, because we have also seen children pornography where the child has been exposed. So that's what my question is, what we are doing as a proactive to teach them and make them aware.
Thank you again for that question. There is a very comprehensive approach to helping educate our young people about the risks of cybercrime. Of course, it is being taught in the schools, and we also know that our universities and our post-secondary institutions have robust computer science and cybersecurity programs all across this province. But we've also moved, and I think we're shifting our approach as a government to embracing technology and making sure that people know how to operate it in a safe manner. We are leading the country, I think, in our approach when it comes to data centers, and it's important that we create an atmosphere that is welcoming for people who are interested in coming forward to set up and establish and train in this area, because I think that it is the way of the future. We have all of the ingredients necessary to create a world-class digital environment here in Alberta. And the reason for that is a number of things. We have the desire, we have the the market conditions in place that invite both domestic and foreign investment here in Alberta. And we continue to lead the way when it comes to companies and investors looking for a jurisdiction to invest in cybersecurity. We also have the proper environment, and I think that's an important one that not a lot of people talk about. When it comes to the establishment of data centers, for example, the proximity of where we live is actually quite a huge benefit, because the cold climate assists with keeping these data centers operational, and we also have the energy that we need to fuel these things. So our goal here is to move Alberta into the realm of being one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive, jurisdiction in the world when it comes to investment in cybersecurity and just the whole digital revolution. I fully agree with you when you say that we've got to be proactive rather than reactive, and that's part of the reason why we're establishing some of these things that we're talking about today. The task force that we are establishing now has brought in leading experts from all across the country. We have people who are attending from, well, we certainly have government representation, but we have representatives from all of the major telecommunications companies who are sitting on this panel. We have community representatives as well, and in particular, representatives from the South Asian community who have disproportionately been impacted by these extortion type crimes. I know that they are different, but I'll make the distinction that cybercrime and extortion are different, but a lot of times they are related, because some of the ways that these criminals are approaching families in Alberta is by using anonymous digital means. And we think that there's a way that we can uncover where they're coming from and where the source is. And that's why we've got the participation of the telecommunication companies. We've also been working closely again with the Canadian Banking Association to help get their perspective on what types of frauds are being perpetuated against Albertans through the banking system. But let me get into a little more detail, because I've talked a lot about what we hope to do and what we're trying to do, but I also want to talk to you about what we have done as well. Together with the Ministry of Technology and Innovation, we just brought forward our first of a number of deepfake legislation as well. And deepfakes are, I think, focused very much on your question, because a lot of people are victims of cyber crimes resulting from what they think they're seeing and what's not actually there. And that's the problem with deepfakes, is that a lot of them that are being used for nefarious purposes are being presented to members of our communities as being realistic images or realistic statements or realistic videos of what somebody is trying to convey through those messages. So what you'll see the government of Alberta bring forward, if they haven't already, and we certainly have started with this, is the imposition, I think, of severe penalties when it comes to those using deepfakes to mislead the public. I recently brought forward a bill that would make it a punishable offense if somebody was using a deepfake to create misleading statements about our electoral system or politicians or election officials. And the reason for that is because we don't want anybody to be misled by what a politician or a bureaucrat in Elections Alberta, for example, may have said or not said. We want to make sure that people are conveying true and real messages. It doesn't stop there. We know that young people are victims of images, for example, that are very damaging to their reputation. A lot of those that are being created digitally. We're going to put a stop to that as well. We're going to make it an offense for anybody to create videos or images of young people saying or doing things that they really didn't do. And this is high on my priority list, because I think that the damage to a person who is the victim of these types of deepfakes is something that I would take very personally if and I think that all Albertans would agree with me. So these are the types of things that we're working on right now, and these are the types of things that you all can expect to see very shortly come forward in legislation here in Alberta. I'll say one last thing. I think though we like to say that we often are leading in this area, I certainly want to also bring about my commendation to the federal government as well for introducing similar legislation when it comes to deepfakes impacting elections at the federal level. And so now we've got protections at the federal level for federal elections, and we do have protections here in Alberta at the provincial level. And these are the types of things that I think governments, all types of governments, need to be focusing on.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate
your time. Thank you.
Great. We'll move to Anu now for your question.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Minister, and my greetings to the media gallery. Thank you so much. This topic is certainly talk of the town, Minister, and as much as we all want to see the protectors or the governments ahead of such cyber criminals, a lot has to be done in order to reinforce that confidence in the public. And we know that most, as you rightly said, most of the times it is international consortiums, international people, not just within the boundaries. And what I want to maybe ask and see more things, how are we connecting with other jurisdictions internationally in order to make sure that these offenders are punished, and how are we able to really bring that awareness to the public, if at all, these offenders are punished, so that we can share the good news as well? Because most of the time, behind these privacy statements, we tend to really not talk too much about who were the offenders, and is there something being done so that we can cheer and make it public, so that people know a lot of work is being done and successfully being captured here?
Yeah, thank you again for that question. The public confidence in our justice system forms, I think, the very foundational purpose of what we try to do at Alberta Justice. We need the public to believe that we've got a strong and robust system, and we do everything we can to make sure that that is the genuine belief in our justice system. When it comes to connecting with other jurisdictions, we are actively working with other jurisdictions. We are working both at a provincial level, at a national level, and at an international level by cooperating and working with other law enforcement agencies, other governments, and most certainly some of the good news stories stem from that jurisdictional work that is happening right now. I can tell you that if when you look at some of the progress that we've seen just in the past 2 months, it was a collective effort by our national policing agency, of course, the RCMP, along with EPS and CPS, that is the Calgary and Edmonton Police Services, and the Surrey Police Service, for example, who are reporting and working together. Now, I've met with the Edmonton and Calgary Police Services, and I can tell you right now that both of them have a very good cybercrime division that is working with other jurisdictions, and they share information regularly with the policing agencies all across Canada and elsewhere as well. Of course, part of that is beyond the jurisdiction sometimes of some of our local agencies. So this is why we are bringing in our telecommunication companies. We know that a lot of this fraud is being done by through programs, apps like WhatsApp, for example. We know that a lot of people are being contacted anonymously through WhatsApp. And we think that there is a role for our telecommunication companies to play when it comes to these types of things. We know that there is always a source for where this is coming from. Even if people try to hide it, we know that IPs kind of lead the way and show us where this these callers are making their calls from. And so we think that there's a way that we need to be more proactive about blocking these sources. We need to hold them accountable, and we are working with all other parties that are dealing with this as well. When it comes to awareness, I think we do need to do a better job, because these good news stories didn't get the traction that we should have given them. Edmonton Police Force arrested 2 men last month, and CBSA worked very closely to make sure that they were deported out of the country. This is an important development that I don't think got the traction that it should have. Alberta policing agencies have dozens. In fact, Edmonton alone has 51 additional suspects that they have identified as being related to this extortion ring. And they are being actively tracked by policing agencies all across Alberta. This is a good news story, because now we're narrowing in on who these actors are and what we need to do to make sure that they're held accountable. In a similar case that was reported just this month, the Calgary Police Service laid charges following an investigation relating to a string of shootings that happened in Northeast Calgary. This person will be held accountable. He will be prosecuted, and we will make sure that we use our Crown prosecutors to make sure that these folks are held accountable. I can also tell you another thing that I think isn't talked about nearly enough, and that is that I've established a specialized prosecution unit for these particular issues. When it comes to organized crime, when it comes to extortion-related cases, we have specialized and dedicated prosecutors that deal with this stuff. And it's important to keep them in this role, because they become experts at prosecuting these types of cases. So these are the types of things that we're doing, and I would love for you to, as a collective community of multicultural media outlets, to publish these stories or republish them if they've already been published by the mainstream media. These are important developments. These are important wins for us as a province and as communities in this province that follow the law and are law-abiding, and we need to continue to deliver this message.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Great. We'll move to Lynn now for your question.
Okay. Thank you, Minister. I'm Lin Wang from CMH News. Beyond the public awareness campaigns, what specific administrative directives or partnerships is the provincial government pursuing with telecommunications providers to implement source-level filtering or blocking of the suspicious numbers. Furthermore, how will the task force ensure that its practical strategies are realistically assemblable to Alberta's diverse multi-language communities who may not have the tools to distinguish these near-perfect AI deceptions? Thank you.
Thank you for that. In response to your first question, partnerships that we have established and the relationships that we are working on with the telecommunications companies enjoys a long history. Of course, telecommunication companies are regulated by government, more so the federal government, but certainly we have tools and mechanisms in place to make sure that the things that we need to see from these telecommunication companies are respected as well. And part of that is the corporate responsibility of making sure that people do not fall victim to cyber crimes and other digital types of fraud. Another part of it is making sure that as good corporate neighbors, they understand the concerns of Albertans. And so we have established this task force, and we've invited people from the major telecommunication companies because we want them to hear of these expectations, and we want them to provide their input on what is realistic and what is possible and what is not. I want to tell you a little bit about who we have, if I may, on this when it comes to our telcos. We have representatives from Bell Canada, Freedom, Rogers, TELUS, of course, and those are actually a couple of different representatives from Freedom Mobile, and this is important because I think it covers all of the major telecommunications companies in the country. The partnerships are strong. I think that everybody is working towards the same goal, and I'm very much encouraged by their participation. We also have consumer protection fraud and consumer protection expert and fraud prevention educators who are on this task force as well, who will be able to provide guidance to everybody involved about some of the things that we're hoping to see. When it comes to your question about trying to meet the members, I can tell you that one of the things that I've always stressed is making sure that we at Alberta Justice have all of the tools we need to be able to communicate effectively to ethnocultural communities. And because of that, our courts and Alberta Justice has all of the resources necessary to be able to communicate to members of all backgrounds, all languages in the language that they're most comfortable with. Our courts have navigators that are able to communicate in dozens of languages. The government of Alberta is able to reach out to people here in Alberta in nearly every language. And I think that this is an important step towards making sure that people understand what their rights are, what they need, and making sure that we communicate effectively in doing so. So these are the types of forward steps that we're taking when it comes to making sure that people understand. We also offer a lot of our materials in a multitude of languages. And we're hoping that communities who would like more information would reach out either to Alberta Justice or any other government department, or even my office to get that information in the language of their choice.
Thank you so much, Minister.
Appreciate it.
We'll move to Maria now for your question.
Hi, good afternoon, Minister. Maria Dagatan from Alberta Chronicle. Greetings to everyone. Thank you again for engaging on the pressing issue of cybercrimes and the efforts that being made to protect everyone as well. So my question is, if cybercrime keeps rising across Canada, given all your proposed solutions, are there risk-based cybersecurity controls being recommended also for public agencies to prevent ransomware attacks on critical infrastructure? Like, for example, if a major ransomware attack hit a hospital, energy system, or even the government service itself, what's the current response plan to ensure public safety and data recovery? And also, since many cyber criminals operate outside Canada, as we all know, how effective is international cooperation in actually catching and prosecuting these offenders?
Okay, I'll begin with your first question. We
Thank
have
you
a
so much.
ministry who is responsible for making sure that all government organizations have the appropriate protections that they need in order to meet the challenges of cybercrime, and certainly the types of threats that we have are constant and regular. I can tell you that we have been the subject of attacks by foreign operators almost on a daily basis. And these are people who are trying to attempt to access our systems. They are trying to hack into government computers. And this happens all the time. The remarkable news is that our Minister of Technology and Innovation has been able to develop the types of security mechanisms to make sure that none of these have been successful. And I can tell you an interesting thing. We hear a lot about this on the news, but the reality is that you can hear it from me as well. There are attempts to get into the government of Alberta systems from many different countries. We've been able to trace them to countries like Russia. We've been able to trace them to countries like China, and we certainly are very much aware of it. But the good news is that they haven't been successful, and that's to the credit of the ministry, who has been able to make sure that all of our government agencies are well protected through a very robust system of cybersecurity and the devices that are able to actively track and respond to these threats. The second part of your question is a little bit more difficult because, of course, we can only do what we can do when it affects our provincial and national borders. We would like to think that the cooperation of the international community has been positive, and we would like to think that there is support from other countries who are also trying to combat this in the same way. So there's a little bit of reciprocity there. And there's a little bit of, the good relationships that Canada has with other countries. But of course, there are disadvantages to having these actors who are stationed all across the world trying to come in and cause us problems. This is where the role of the banking industry and the communications companies becomes really key, because a lot of these frauds are being done by either by telephone or by the internet. So somebody contacting another person through an anonymous way here, or asking them to do deposits or wire transfers and whatnot to foreign bank accounts. This is where I think that the banking industry and the communications companies have a role to play. And I also would say to you that I am very encouraged by their participation, because I think that they identify that this is a problem as well. And so collectively, we will work on both the domestic and the foreign threats. But for now, I think that the positive news is that we're seeing so much uptake on this task force, and we're seeing so much uptake on a unified and collective effort to combat cybercrime, both here in Alberta, but also nationally and internationally as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Minister, for that. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll move now to Manjeet from Global Desi Media.
Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for hosting this multicultural media roundtable on this very crucial issue. So last week, I got an opportunity to attend a session. It was an information session by the SEAS. It's a non-profit organization. It's a center to empower all survivors of exploitation and traffics in Edmonton. So during this session, they highlighted a big issue, which is also the part of cybercrime, that is sextortion. Apart from extortion, sextortion is really rapidly increasing problem, and the most vulnerable section of this problem is youth. And but it's not only up to youth, even elders are the victim of this big problem. So my question is, what kind of programs government is working on to spread awareness so that we can all together work on this crucial issue? I know for students there is some curriculum and school programs, but I believe parents and grandparents, they should be also involved in this solution of this big problem. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
this is a great question, and I think it's important for us to sit for just a moment and consider that as a ethnocultural community members, all of us have a very difficult time speaking to our young children about these particular issues. And I think it's because a lot of us have grown up in environments where it is almost taboo or not typically the case where we talk about partnerships, intimacy, and things like this. So we need to be able to make sure that we are equipping our young people with the knowledge and the tools that they need to be able to combat these types of threats. We have been very much supportive of legislation that makes the transmission of intimate images from one person to another illegal when it's shared without the consent of the person who's depicted in that image. We're also noticing more and more of these fake images that are being created to harm the reputations of young people, especially. And we are taking a zero tolerance approach when it comes to that. There is no space, absolutely none, for anybody who intends to create intimate images or intimate videos or even statements about other people that puts them in a light that they would otherwise not appreciate, especially when it comes to sexual images of those individuals. There is just no place for that whatsoever. And you're going to see some incredibly robust legislation when it comes. We are also making sure that we support the move towards establishing the crime of coercive control. And what that means is that in an intimate partnership, there is a move towards making it a criminal offense to be controlling another person and creating an environment where somebody is doing things, being coerced to do things out of that control. That is highly inappropriate. And I think that impacts a lot of our communities, to be frank with you guys. So these are the types of things that we are supporting. We are continuing on with an education program, as you mentioned, of course, to make sure that our young people understand that the implications of these images and these videos don't go away. They never disappear. They're always out there, and people need to understand that. So I would really welcome your support in making sure that we help educate not only our young people but also our parents.
Yeah.
That this is not something that we need to keep to ourselves. This is a reality of the society we live in right now, and we need to empower parents. We need to encourage them to have these difficult conversations with their children as well. The one thing that the last thing I want to tell you is that I think you really hit the nail on the head when you talked a little bit about the sextortion and the human trafficking. We tend to think that human trafficking involves things that happen in other countries. The reality is it is happening here. It is happening here regularly, and we have established a great deal of resources in place to make sure that nobody falls victim to these types of things. We know that, well, I mean, I can give you some examples. We know that there are various massage parlors that have been closed down where people have been employed to provide services that are highly inappropriate and illegal. And we know that a lot of those have been shut down. These are people who are often victims of human trafficking. These are people who are often victims of sextortion. And so we need to keep in mind that this is happening in our communities as well. And we also need to make sure that we have all of the resources in place. One of the first things that we did was we also established, in addition to the other specialized prosecution teams, we allocated a number of prosecutors in Alberta to prosecuting only human trafficking crimes. And again, the benefit I see in doing that, well, I mean, look, let me tell you about the reality. If there are enough cases to keep 2 prosecutors or 3 or 4 or however many there are in the division now, fully employed in prosecuting nothing but human trafficking, then we know that this is a problem that we need to be aware of. But the positivity of doing that is that now we have people who are doing nothing but human trafficking prosecutions. And when you do something over and over and over again, you become really good at it. And that's the benefit. That's the goal that I hope to create in making sure that these specialized prosecution teams achieve, that they become really good at what they do, and that they're able to put these people behind bars if they are putting our loved ones in these terrible scenarios. So there's, again, the message will continue on from me, and it'll be the same message. There is no tolerance for people who are preying upon our vulnerable, whether that's our children or whether that's our seniors or whether that's anyone else who is vulnerable. We will not rest, and we will make sure that Alberta never becomes a safe haven for these types of people. They can go elsewhere, but they can't stay here.
Thank you very much, Minister. And only concern is, like, we should organize some small information sessions for the parents and grandparents so that they can have some idea how they can, check whether their children, their kids are safe or not. Thank you very much.
Yeah, can I just comment just a little bit on that? I want to say to you that our government has very much been focused on what we call what we typically say is the role of parents. The parents play the most essential role in the development of their children. It's not the schools, it's not government, it's not the public, it's parents. They are the ones that need every tool that they can to make sure that they're able to do exactly that, which is parent their children. And we will not apologize for making sure that parents have all of the information they need, all of the knowledge about what their children are going through, and also making sure that they have the choice and the freedom to make choices about how they want to raise their kids. That is really a fundamental component of our UCP government. And I think we differ very much from other political parties in that aspect, because parental choice and the ability for parents to be directly involved with their children is something that I do not think I will ever waver on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move now to Ashok.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to holding this roundtable discussion. It's a very important issue because we live in the technology area. AI is also a good thing and an evil too. So my question is that, so all the Honourable Minister explained that we Edmonton Police, Calgary Police, and another police, they even the federal government, they are jointly operation to tackle that problem. So, but we know we always that the scammer, they make a fake ID. So is the government of Alberta, they trying to make any legislation or any policies to verification for mandatory for the social media company? Or if somebody breach the law, we will see in the future new law to make it accountable for the social media platform for not doing their job properly.
Yeah, Ashok, thank you for the question, because I think you've identified another really important question and a really important issue. And that is that even if there are people operating anonymously or using fake credentials or whatnot, the media is held on a social media platform. And we know that, Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever should have some responsibility in whether this fake media is being held and accessible to others. That is where we think and we hope that the governments will focus on. That is where my personal hope is that while we can't always find the anonymous person who is living in a different part of the world, we can certainly have laws in place in this country that require social media platforms to be responsible for these types of things. And that could mean something as little as immediately removing something if it comes to light that this is not a real depiction of that individual, or it could mean consequences for allowing that to happen. So I think you've probably identified where we need to go with this eventually. And part of the reason why I wanted this task force was to find out what regulation making ability we have as a government of Alberta to hold digital media platforms accountable for their lack of response or their delayed response in addressing the reporting of these types of crimes, right? So just to put it to you as an example, maybe, I want to be able to move us into an environment where if somebody sees a video of themselves being hosted on TikTok that is not actually them, I want there to be a mechanism in place by all of these social media platforms where that is reported and removed in the quickest time possible. And if it is not removed, then there has to be a conversation about what needs to be done to deal with that. And I think that we can do that.
Yeah, you are right. My next, just a follow of that, because some people, they are complaining. If they're complaining that's a fake, so it takes too much time to remove, and that time that will, wrong things spread so quickly. So people, they're eating like a hot cake. So that's why, thank you for this consultation. Thank you.
I note your concerns and I share your concerns, and that is to say that we need quick responses to these issues, and we need to have a mechanism in place to make sure that these platforms are responding to these reports in a quick way, and perhaps even consequences for not doing that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. We will now go to Mandeep Ball.
Thank you so much, Minister. Can you guys hear me?
It's very quiet. I wonder if you can speak up just a little bit, Mandeep.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
It's a little bit better now. I think.
Okay. Just want to say thank you so much and pleasure meeting all of you. And this is a serious thing that I've been talking about for a long time now. And I'm so glad we're taking action on it. Would you be so kind enough to reach out to me after this so we can do an interview with my followers? And I'm gonna get every major content creator in Canada to be involved in this. So I'll be getting in contact with the people that got me into this room to spread this message out in a very big way. So I just want to say thank you so much again.
I do appreciate that. I do appreciate the work that you do as well, delivering the message. Like, important. Be happy to continue with a follow-up with anybody, including yourself.
Thank you.
Great. Mandeep, okay, I think we're good. It seems like you don't have a further question. Great. And then we'll move on to Mandeep from Prime Asia TV.
Hold on. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Good afternoon, Minister.
Afternoon.
Thanks very much for giving me an opportunity to speak about a very crucial issue. We often hear that meaningful results come from only when problems are fully acknowledged. However, in many newcomers and ethnic communities, serious issues such as extortion, domestic violence, sexual exploitation remain significantly unreported, largely due to fear, cultural barriers, and a lack of trust in enforcement agencies, often shared by the experiences in their own countries of origin. In this context, is your ministry considering any concrete policy measures or frameworks to strengthen coordination among law enforcement agencies, social services, and the community organization to address these hidden crimes? Specifically, are there any plans to improve interagency collaboration, culturally responsive policing, and community outreach to both increase reporting and build long-term trust in the justice system across diverse populations here in Alberta? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mandeep, for that very comprehensive question. The short answer is absolutely yes. The longer answer is this. I am very much alive and aware to the issue of underreporting in cultural communities, and I find that it is probably one of the biggest tragedies that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. It is enshrined in some communities that it is taboo to talk about these things. It is inappropriate, and a lot of people are embarrassed and shy. The reality is that nobody is perfect. No family is without its problems, and no one individual has achieved perfection. We know that we all make mistakes. We all have challenges, and the reality is that there are so many tools available to help families navigate through some of their problems. I've established in the past couple of years what I think is probably one of the most comprehensive family justice strategies when it comes to Alberta justice. And one of the key components of it is the concept of mandating that families need to go through mediation before they go to court. The reason for this is very simple. If we do not give families an opportunity to resolve their problems in an informal and comfortable mediation setting, we will subject them to a very uncomfortable and very stressful environment in court. I don't believe that that's the best approach. I've always said in my practice before this role as a family lawyer that families greatly benefit, especially with children involved, from the opportunity to be able to describe their issues and have somebody, a neutral third party available to help mediate those issues. And let me tell you what that looks like. And this comes from my own personal upbringing and background. A lot of times, members of my cultural community would reach out to somebody else to help mediate family disputes. That could be a religious leader, it could be a family member, it could be another, close friend of the family. But this is how a lot of things are done in these communities. And so what we're doing is we're taking it a step further. I want that to be part of our family system as well. I want there to be an opportunity for families who are going through very difficult times to be able to sit down in a room, not a courtroom, but an average room, with an experienced mediator who creates a comfortable atmosphere to try to talk about these issues. Now, it's not going to solve every problem, but my hope is that if we solve some of the problems, that it will have a smaller or lesser impact on those families if they need the court to resolve the bigger problems. And this is the goal. Now, I can tell you guys this. When we introduced this program, there were a lot of people who were skeptical. Why should we go to mediation? Why don't we go to court and whatever? We have major decreases in the number of court applications that are actually making it to court now in the family law system, because a lot of it is being resolved in these mediations. And this is important because anytime you can avoid having a family or a child involved in the family law system in the courtrooms, it is a huge win for the people of Alberta. And if I can tell you, I can give you the statistics shortly, but I can tell you that these are double-digit decreases in the number of family law applications that are being heard by a judge in both our Alberta Court of Justice and the Court of King's Bench. So this is consistent all across the family law system. And what we're seeing is that families are able to talk to one another, they're able to resolve some of their issues, and they're able to, I think, shorten the time that it takes to get a final resolution. There will always be a role for courts. There are emergency scenarios. There are situations where there's danger involved or an imminent threat to one or more of the parties, and that is always open for families to seek immediate remedy through the courts. But where that's not the case, where it's appropriate, I really think that this mediation process as part of our family justice strategy is working, and I'm very proud of that, to be frank with you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Okay, we have one more question from Anthony, and then just a quick pre-submitted question.
Hello, Minister. It's great to see your growth from a university student to Minister. Yay! To let you
Thank
know
you so
that
much.
I'm very, very close to Mr. Mickey Emery's family. It's just great to meet you again. Now, Minister, I know that cyberbullying has been an issue for the past 2 decades. Now it's been escalated to another level, in my opinion, especially from the ethnic communication. Many people don't even know what they do is illegal, namely, name calling, bullying, uh, accusing people falsely, so on, so on, so on. And then they didn't know until they were sued or go to court and so on. So what can we do more? I know that the government has done a lot, but what can we do more to make sure that the ethnic associations, communities know more about their rights and responsibilities when they use the social media?
Great question. Thank you again, Anthony. It's nice to see you. And Anthony and I have known each other for a very long time. I think that we are doing a lot of work in the area. I think that when you embrace the idea that mental health is probably one of the biggest challenges that we as a society are going to deal with, if not already, we will certainly have to struggle and grapple with it in very short order. And we look at some of the things that we've done thus far. I think we're on the right track, and it's a big area. Education is huge. Making sure that all of our families, our parents, and our institutions, our cultural institutions, are equipped with the appropriate materials and tools is probably one of the biggest steps forward. Another one is you guys being here as well. And let's be honest, this is incredibly important. This messaging that we are delivering, not just on the Cybercrime Task Force, but now we're getting into other areas that are sort of ancillary to it and related to it in many ways. It's important to open up this discussion. We know that families struggle with many issues and don't come forward until it's often too late. How often have we heard of a case where a child is suffering from addiction issues and parents are too ashamed or too embarrassed to come forward and end up losing their child? This is not what we want. This is not where we need to be. We need to come forward where it is, where there's enough time to save these young folks. And this is what I'm here to deliver the message. There are tons of resources out there, and working with the ethnic media outlets, working with alternative media, and working with the mainstream media are all strategies I have to help deliver this message to all of our communities. Parents are not alone, and parents can find the support that they need without publishing their business to other members of the community. They can approach my office for direction. They can certainly approach other offices to get the advice that they need. And I think every single one of my ministerial colleagues is very much eager to help with this. So we all have a great offices, and we have great staff that are able to communicate to all of you or to the families that are impacted on the supports that are available when it comes to these types of issues. So my message is simple. Please reach out to your respective communities. Let them know that there are resources available. Let them know that there are supports available. And above all else, make sure that they have the contacts so that they can reach out to us if they don't know where to look, and we will certainly help them find what they're looking for.
Great. I just have one pre-submitted question, and then Sam will come to you for a follow-up question because I saw that you had your hand raised. This is from Jia Song at the Chinese Journal. She asks, for everyday Albertans, especially seniors and families, what practical steps or resources will come out of this strategy to help them recognize and avoid scams more effectively?
Thank you for that. The idea is to let the Cybercrime Task Force speak to industry experts, go through some of the options that are available, with the goal of developing recommendations both in the legislative but also the regulatory areas to help me develop policy or legislation that will address some of these issues, if not all of them. The goal is to make sure that they equip me with their report at the end of it, which will give me the opportunity then to start work on legislation, for example, if we find gaps that need to be closed up, or policies within the Ministry of Justice or other ministries that we can implement to help address these issues that the task force has identified. So, in other words, the goal here is for the task force to do its work, to reach out to stakeholders, industry experts, and the public, and then come back with recommendations that will help me shape and formulate legislation and policy to address the issues that they've identified. It is my full intention to take their recommendations and do what we can as a province to implement them. And if that means bringing in new legislation, I'm happy to do that. And if it means developing or introducing or modifying policy, I'm happy to do that as well.
Thanks, Minister. We'll go now to Sam for a follow-up question. Oh, you're muted.
All right, Minister, you kind of touched on most of the questions I have in mind that I have it ready for you. So, but I want to finish with this note here. As you know, a lot of ethnic communities, they have issue trusting the state. There's a lack of trust between communities and the government. I'm talking about where a majority of us came from, and that really lead to a problem when it comes to crimes, because if somebody would have some information that's really vital about protecting children or drugs or crimes, if they report it, even through Crime Stoppers, there's a big umbrella over most communities that, oh, this is a mole, this is a rat, this is bad things, you're spying on the communities and all this stuff. So the questions I'm just going to leave it with you is there any, I hope your government or future government will at least do some educational tools or sessions or informations to narrow this gap, because there's a lot of information and government and police authorities can really tap into if the community trust, build that bridge and start to communicate or cooperate with law enforcement. And hopefully with your initiative about this mediation, which is a great idea. Thank you for doing this. I really think this is another one that is going to benefit all communities, not only the ethnic communities.
It most certainly has, and it will. And I want to talk to you and to all of those that are on the call right now about some of the other things that you've raised, because I think you've actually touched on a very, very important issue. When it comes to the reporting, especially with Crime Stoppers, I wanted to let your viewers know that they have been operating, I think, since the 1980s, but decades, with absolute success when it comes to the anonymous reporting of crimes. The one thing I think people don't understand is that you don't give any names, you don't give any details, you don't even give a contact number. When you reach out to Crime Stoppers, they provide you with an anonymous ID number. When you provide your tip, and then you go through the process, and they'll provide you with information on how to collect your reward. But at no point in time is any information, phone numbers, photographs, or other details required. I think you've touched on a bigger issue, though, and that is that many of us come from diverse backgrounds, and in other countries, certainly the respect and the relationship between the public and the state is very different. It's in many areas one of fear, one of paranoia, and one of distrust. And I think that I can accept and appreciate that. But here's what I wanted to do, and I've always wanted to do in my role as the Minister of Justice. When I first started, I identified that one of the most important things for me was to make sure that our justice system looked like the makeup of Albertans. And so I took it upon myself to make sure that every decision that we make, every appointment, every role, every judicial announcement includes, to the extent that it is available to me, members from all backgrounds, all cultures, and all walks of life. And this is very important because I think that it is a way that we make our criminal justice system, and in fact our whole justice system, a much more effective and probably a better system when it incorporates the people who comprise the justice system of everyday Albertans. We know that Alberta has embraced tons of newcomers, and we want them to feel appreciated, and we want them to feel comfortable. And that is one of the worst things that I hear is that, you know, we were too nervous or we were too uncomfortable with the court system, and so we don't think that we were able to communicate what we wanted to communicate. That is my primary goal, to make sure that that never happens again, to make sure that those who are coming in have the appropriate interpretation services, come into a courthouse and see that the Alberta courts have staff and judges and lawyers and prosecutors that look exactly like what everybody else looks like. This is essential to me. And so I'll continue to do that as long as I'm in this role. I'll continue to do that, and I'll continue to push to make sure that this continues to be the theme of Alberta justice. My hope is that all governments all across the country adopt this policy and make sure that we continue to see the same type of effort and enthusiasm for creating a justice system, and in fact whole governments that represent all Albertans and not just some. And that is really my primary goal here. So I hope that helps answer your question. I think it was probably more than you asked, but I wanted to put it on the record that with everything that I do, it is important for me to consider the lived experiences and the backgrounds of people who are applying for these positions, because I think it makes for a better justice system generally. When it comes to judges, I think that if you understand and you can relate to the people in front of you, you will make better decisions. So these are the types of things that I hope to achieve, and I hope that with enough time we'll see the benefits of this policy. That
Thanks,
being
Minister.
said, I think I've kept you guys longer than you have agreed to come, but I do want to thank you very much for being so engaged and for listening to me, not just about this policy, but also talking to me about other issues that impact our cultural communities. And I want to make sure that you all understand that coming forward now, in the future, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have stakeholders or members of your communities that need a hand or need guidance, please do not hesitate to reach out to our office.
Wonderful. Thanks, Minister.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you all, and have a wonderful afternoon.